KGVO Missoula Sports Talk tonight and streaming online at Newstalk.KGVO.com.
And good evening, everybody, from a smoke-filled room. And man, we're not even doing anything illicit or illegal here. It's just wafting in. It is one hazy, smoky day. That's the word they're using now instead of smoky, Eric. They're calling it hazy. Yeah, so you get hazy and smoky there. We welcome you to Sports Talk tonight. We are, of course, live, and Denny Bedard here without Scott Guernsey. Guern's taking the week off, but I am thrilled to have my buddy, part of the house band, Eric Tabor, Sports Information Director, University of Montana. Welcome back. Good to see you.
The band is back together. I'm happy to be here. It's an awesome time of year to be talking sports on the radio because what's not happening right now? We got Grizz football, Grizz athletics in general in full swing.
Yeah.
So it's, awesome to be back.
Yeah, I went to the scrimmage on Saturday morning. That got my juices flowing. I'm ready to roll, and appreciate you coming in. I didn't mind asking because I don't think I bugged you too. It's been a little while since you've been in, so I didn't mind bugging you.
You found other, unwitting suspects to pick on. I got a break. I took the summer off. I was gone for a while, so
you got married and everything. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
got hitched.
had a splendid road trip, honeymoon, and big deal. So
too much fun, and now it's back to the real world.
Yeah, it is real indeed when the fall sports start kicking in. Not only football, but volleyball and soccer, too, if time allows. We'll talk about those later on in the hour. But we got a very special guest. Let's get to him because we only have him until about the bottom of the hour. He's got to get back to work.
Very big guest, and we're talking Grizz football with defensive coordinator Jason Semore. Coach Semore, how are you? Thanks for coming in and taking a little bit of time out of fall camp because I know it's been a grind.
Sure. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk some Grizz football. I'm doing well. I'm a little tired from the grind of fall camp, but it's wheeling down to an end here, so excited to play against a different opponent, hit another jersey color, so we're ready to roll.
Yeah, and it's fall camp. People may look at the schedule. We still got another week until September 2nd, but fall camp, for all intents and purposes, wrapped up today. The last morning practice of fall camp this morning. Tomorrow, your last scrimmage, a closed-door scrimmage, so you guys can tinker with the fine-tuned details. And then a couple of, a special teams practice, a couple of light things, and then Monday off, and then we're in game week. We're there.
Yep, sneaking up on us quick. The guys are ready, though. It's time to start getting ready for the season and focusing in on an opponent. I know the guys are ready, so am I.
Awesome.
Has anyone really surprised you so far in practice further along than you might have expected? I imagine that happens every year, right? You've got all the guys you counted on. A lot of them you figured that this guy's going to be a starter, a number one, but there's probably a few guys, whether they're brand new as a freshman or a transfer, there's probably a few guys that you go, wow, this is good, exceeding expectations.
Yeah, sure. We saw a lot of that this spring because we had all of our starting linebacker core out with surgeries and things like that, but we saw some guys during the spring like Jace Lewis really emerge, Shane Cochran really emerged. They got a lot of reps and very happy with how they're developing. Fall camp, as far as that goes, we had a position change, so we moved Gavin Crow from safety to corner just to shore up some depth needs there, and really, really pleased with how that's going. He's a guy that's really grown into that position, more comfortable and more natural than he was at the safety position, so we're very pleased with that. The young linebackers still getting a lot of reps. Those guys are getting better every day, so we've kind of manufactured a group that's pretty talented and pretty deep, so we're excited about it.
9 returning starters on that defensive unit, and guys like Josh Buss, Connor Strom, James Banks, who got really quality reps last year, and Josh Buss, you could talk about him all day, but as far as I could tell watching practices, he's in a league by himself. He's really emerging this year. Put on an extra 10 pounds to help out, too.
Sure. Josh Buss is a guy that's your next Grizz NFL draft pick. He's a dude that's really, really talented. He was born to play some football. He's wired the right way. He's very serious about it. Josh Buss did some things last year during the season that we knew he was talented and going to be a good player, but we didn't know he possessed some skill sets as far as rushing the passer and getting TFLs and things like that. So it's allowed us to change kind of what we're doing just a little bit in terms of how we attack the quarterback and stuff like that. So we're looking for a huge year from Josh Buss.
Yeah, 20 TFLs on the season. That, league best. That's a great Christmas present right there for you.
That was my next question I was going to ask Jason about, is if there was anything that you could point to with this defensive unit that you feel you can do this year that perhaps you didn't feel quite as comfortable trying last year.
Yeah, this group is very experienced, so we've kind of tinkered around with some things that's really given us an opportunity to open up the playbook and do some different things. We always have ideas as coaches, and when it's year one and you're trying to install a base structure of your defense, you can't spend a lot of time doing those things because you're trying to be fundamentally sound and gap sound and things like that. This spring and in fall camp, we've been able to do that because of the experience that we have. So we've really opened up the playbook. It's allowed us to install a lot of mixed zones. It's allowed us to do some more things with blitz packages and things like that. So it's going to be fun as a play caller. The guys are enjoying it too. So whenever you have the luxury of depth, experience, things like that, it always allows you. It allows you to do more. It allows you to kind of diversify everything. So we're really excited about it. We got a good group that's going to be a great product to put on the field.
I don't think there's a place on the field, both sides of the ball, where you got more depth than the defensive line. I mean, I watched him practice today. I think Gresh Jensen was taking some reps, and Gresh's not a small kid. He's 6 foot tall. All of a sudden, you got David Shaw, 6'5", 310 pounds, just come barreling through, and Gresh tried to get it over top of him. Not a chance. I mean, he swatted that thing right down to the ground like Gresh was kneeling. So you've got David Shaw out there, Maryland transfer, huge guy, backing up Brant Davidson, a senior. You got Jesse Sims in there, and then of course you've got Tucker Shy on the end too. So your defensive line is as good as I think I've ever seen here at UM.
It's pretty good. It's been a strong point of emphasis for us since we first got here of recruiting the D-line. We've worked very hard at it. We've spent lots and lots of man hours of identifying talent and really going after that position in terms of quality depth and things like that, because if you can establish that, especially at the FCS level, it's a big-time luxury for you. Every defensive coach is going to tell you that if you want to be successful, it's got to start up front. Same thing on both sides of the ball. So we've been hammering away as a staff on the recruiting trail of getting the right guys in here to win up front on both sides of the ball. We feel like we put ourselves in a position to do that. So it's very exciting. It gives you a comfort level. Football's a violent game, and guys get hurt and things like that. And if God forbid that was to happen to one of our guys, we've put ourselves in a position where it's not going to be detrimental to the season. It also allows, taking snaps off of guys during a game so they can be fresher. It's a long season, especially in a league like the Big Sky, a league like the the Pac-12, things like that, where people are up-tempo offenses. Sometimes you're defending 90 snaps a game. We defended almost 100 snaps in a couple games last year. And if you look at that comparatively to other leagues, North Dakota State's averaging 58 snaps a game. We averaged 86 snaps a game, and that adds up throughout the course of a year. So if you're going to be successful and you're going to try to make a playoff run and keep guys healthy, it's an absolute must for us. So we work very hard at it.
And another guy I wanted to highlight, and you talked about your effort to recruiting. Chris Favaroso has come in from Arizona Western. At the JC level, I think he Arizona Western took second in the nation, like in the JC National Championship. And Favaroso seems to have made an immediate impact. Added a lot of size and some speed over on that Leo defensive end across from Tucker Shy. Really bringing a 1-2 punch with those two guys. Sure,
we knew going into last year that both of our defensive ends were seniors. We had to replace two dynamic guys, really good defensive ends. So we kind of put the feelers out early and kind of scoured the country to find out who was going to replace those guys. We had a couple different options on the table as far as guys we were really trying to go after. Chris's body type and frame is perfect for what we do in the Leo position. Probably a little undersized for big-time FBS defensive ends, but we play our guy into the boundary and ask him to do a lot of different things. So it was a good fit in terms of what he was looking for after his junior college deal. So the recruiting process just hit it off with him, and we decided to go after him full bore. And the coaching staff did a great job of recruiting him, and we're fortunate enough to get him in the end. And he's been a tremendous asset for us. We think he's going to do a great job taking over for Ryan Johnson.
Great kid too. He went to he's from Florida originally. Went up to App State. He was a wrestler. He was actually also had a chance to wrestle at West Virginia, and then didn't work out at App State, so went to junior college route and ends up at Montana. So he's had quite the road to get here. Interesting kid, nice kid, and like you said, Coach, I think he's going to work out really well for you guys. Talking about recruiting, one of the things I wanted to ask you about. So we've got now 4 kids from the program from Oklahoma, and I know you've got Oklahoma ties. Walk us through your background. Just the folks listening out there. Talk to us a bit about where you came from, and I know you came here from Mines with Coach Stitt, but before that, how did you end up here in Missoula?
Sure. Well, my family is from Oklahoma, so my parents are from back there. Grandparents still live back there. They're retired and playing golf every day, along with my parents. But I got close to 100 family members that live in Oklahoma. Wow. I was fortunate enough early in my career to get a coaching job back there. So it was the right move for me in terms of taking my kids back there to be closer to grandparents and all those kind of things. So right. I was at the University of Tulsa for 3 years and Oklahoma State for almost 3. As far as recruiting that area goes, as a recruiter, you're only as successful as the ties that you have back there. So for me, I'm very fortunate because talent identification is very hard when it's so far away from home.
Right.
But for me, I have resources back there. So the recruiting coordinators at Oklahoma State, recruiting coordinators at Tulsa, I stay in constant communication with them for guys who they think can play at this level. And working back there all those years, just like we have summer camps here, all the high school teams from Montana come. It was similar when I was back there, so I was able to forge some relationships there. So you take advantage of the talent identification piece, and then you try to really work hard to take advantage of the relationships that you have with the high school coaches. And they play some really good football, especially in the Tulsa area. It's as big as anywhere in the country. So we've worked really hard at kind of establishing pipelines at places like Broken Arrow, and it's really paying off for us.
Well, yeah, Broken Arrow producing Sammy Akem, who is a redshirt freshman wide receiver. And, we'll talk later, Denny, about some of the ones to watch, but he's right there on top of the list this year. Sammy's 6'4". He's got arms down to his knees,
Right.
And he.
And I think Mike Farrader, when he was a guest on this show, was talking about having to order special gloves.
Huge hands. Yeah, huge hands. I'm 6'5", and I'm an offensive lineman. I got big hands. I think he's got bigger hands than I do.
Yeah.
So Sammy is going to be one of these guys, and like I said, out of Broken Arrow, he's real-time talent. He's big-time talent. So we're going to take a quick break real fast. This segment of Sports Talk Tonight brought to you by Orange Street Food Farm, locally owned and operated grocery store featuring the freshest fruits and vegetables, fresh meats, and a great beer and wine selection over at Orange Street Food Farm. We'll be back with more with defensive coordinator for the Montana Grizzlies, Jason Semore, here on Sports Talk Tonight.
Now back to Missoula's Sports Talk Tonight on KGVO.
Missoula Sports.
Every second of every day.
And welcome back to Sports Talk Tonight. My name is Eric Tabor with Denny Bedard, and in the studio with a special guest, defensive coordinator Jason Semore for the Montana Grizzlies. This segment of Sports Talk Tonight brought to you by Grizzly Liquor, located downtown next to the Iron Horse. Big Sky, big selection, and online at grizzlyliquor.com. Also brought to you by the Ranch Club. golf, dining, entertainment, events, and the incredible pool. Visit them online at ranchclub.com, located just off Mullen Road. So, Denny, we're back here with defensive coordinator Jason Semore, and we were just kind of getting into talking about some of the studs for this year, guys we can look out for. And Coach, we had a scrimmage on Monday, and we got one more tomorrow. So I guess just think back about that Monday scrimmage, and how's the defensive unit in general kind of progressing as far as what you wanted to see this year? And we talked about already about 9 starters coming back. So how's that barometer going?
Sure. We were very pleased with this last scrimmage from a coaching staff standpoint. Just because of the way our football team looked, it was crisp and clean football. It was very assignment sound. I thought Reese Phillips did a great job. You saw guys making plays. Just really assignment football. Balls were being challenged, but guys weren't wide open. There wasn't gaping holes in the defense, things like that sometimes happen during scrimmage, especially when you get into the second string guys, the third string guys, things like that. So you really saw guys that were doing their jobs and in the right position, and you saw production on both sides. You saw receivers making plays, making catches over DBs. You saw interceptions and just a really good competition back and forth, because you want to put guys in competitive situations and see how they respond to success and failure, and we're really pleased with what we got out of it. There was success on both sides, and not a lot of jumping off sides, not a lot of missed assignments on offense, not a lot of missed assignments on defense. It was very competitive, very clean scrimmage. We're pleased with it.
You mentioned you're excited about your depth and versatility. At this point so far, 8 or 9 or 10 days away from game number 1, do you feel like the rush defense is a little bit stronger than the pass defense right now, or vice versa, or even Steven, or where are we at?
A lot of that depends on the team that you're playing.
Right.
Obviously, when you're playing a team like Eastern Washington, they throw for 340 yards a game. I mean, your pass defense is never going to look quite as good. The strength of our unit right now is without question our front seven. So we just from a personnel standpoint, we really feel good about stopping the run this year, and just because of the guys that we have in the front seven. I think we really match up with anybody in the country as far as the front seven goes. Not to say that we're not capable in the secondary. We got older guys back there, guys that have played a lot of football for us, guys with a lot of experience. But they will get challenged in the Big Sky. So you got to shift your focus point from week to week based on what teams like to do. In the Big Sky, it's a very unique conference. I've never been in a conference like this. It's unique in that you're going to have to play a triple option team one week. You're going to have to play a 12 personnel power football team like North Dakota one week. You're going to have to go play a spread 10 personnel team, throws the ball 70 times a game like Eastern Washington. And there's a reason that 8 of the top offenses in the country are in this league, because the league is like that. It puts a lot of pressure, a lot of stress on defenses in terms of scheme and personnel. So you got to be as diverse as possible. You have to be able to adjust to take away what teams like to do best. We've built the defense to do that. We've grown the scheme from last year to this year to do exactly that. We feel really solid about where we're at right now. We have to keep guys healthy, obviously, in the secondary. We're not as deep as we are in the front seven. You're talking about a league with some pretty elite athletes at wide receiver that can change a game in a hurry with vertical shots and things like that. So we work on those things every day. We're trying to find a way. We've spent a lot of time as coaches. A lot of people think, we're playing such and such team this week, so let's watch their film that week. Well, we spent all summer watching every single game those guys have played for the last 2 years. There's a lot that goes into game planning. So we feel like we've done some things scheme-wise in the offseason, and we've been able to grow and adapt and adjust and put our guys in a position to capitalize on their strengths as a defense. So we're really looking forward to the season.
Well, and I would think you mentioned that the Big Sky Conference has some pretty dynamic receivers, and I would include some of the guys at Montana in that. So it's got to be good as as a defensive coordinator, probably in a defensive unit, when you're talking about working on your pass defense, to go against the guys that you got to go against every day.
Sure, we were second in the league in throwing the football last year, so our offense is dynamic in its own right as far as spinning the ball around, which helps us prepare. It definitely does. We get challenged every day. I mean, we challenge our guys, so we kind of gotta capitalize on that iron sharpens iron scenario. From a pass rush standpoint, we'll make that a point of emphasis as we go towards Big Sky play. We really feel like we've addressed a lot of those needs in the recruiting process. We're doing some things scheme-wise to capitalize on what guys can do in terms of pass rush. We feel like we have some guys this year. Maybe we don't have to pressure as much to get pressure on the quarterback, but we'll have to play that out and see how it goes as far as production in games. So
that's secondary we're talking about. I mean, obviously we've got an offense that spreads the ball around a whole lot, and the secondary this year, though, I think is not the deepest position for the defensive side of the ball, but you got guys that have, in my opinion, and we were just talking about Ryan McKinley during the break. He's one of these guys that's been around for a long time, around Montana football for a long time, and is now finally earning his keep. He's finally earning his chance. And you're just saying he's come along leaps and bounds. And to have him, locking down that cornerback position, you've got to be able to sleep better at night knowing that he's bringing that senior leadership over there.
Sure. The biggest thing that Ryan has shown, especially in fall camp, even leaps and bounds from the spring, is consistency in terms of his technique and production. Hasn't given up a vertical shot all spring and all fall. He's a guy that's come a long ways in terms of how consistent he is. Corner's a very technical position. It is. It's not go cover your dude and run around and chase him. It's a technical position, and he's a guy that's become very consistent with that.
I think you used, when we were talking earlier in the show, Jace Lewis as an example. You mentioned a player that you kind of were looking at as a safety and is moving to a corner position. You said because it was just a more comfortable fit, or just more comfortable for that player. What are the key differences, and why would a player be more comfortable as a corner than a safety?
Just what we ask him to do in terms of our scheme. In Jace's case, he's a tremendous open field tackler.
Great.
Very, very fluid with his hips and things like that. Not so much a straight line speed guy. So that position switch suited him in terms of our evaluation of him in the spring. And when we made that position switch, he kind of blew up. He became very productive, very comfortable in that position, especially for a young guy. We've kept the scheme pretty simple to speed the game up for him. The more stuff you put on a young guy, the game really slows down. So he's a guy that has grown in that role, and he's a guy that we would be comfortable putting on the field on Saturdays, even though he's young.
Yeah. I think another one of those guys that kind of came into his own over the spring and now into the fall is Vika Fa'atuiese. That's how you pronounce his name for everybody out there who is having trouble with that one. Fa'atuiese.
Yeah.
It's Samoan.
You got that apostrophe in there.
A lot of time around Polynesian folks in my life, so Fa'atuiese. But Vika this fall especially, he's been sort of my head. I mean, he's been filling in at that linebacker spot for Connor, who's going to miss a couple games. But with that, he's a sophomore. You know what I mean? And so you've got a guy making senior level plays now as a sophomore. This is painting your picture for down the road too. Like with him and Jace Lewis, you've got linebackers set for a while.
Absolutely, especially in Vika's case. This spring was really a blessing for us because sometimes it's really hard to grow and develop as a player until you're the guy, until people depend on you to do that. And Vika is a tremendous athlete. He always has been. He's an FBS talent that came to us from University of Colorado. He's a dude that always had the tools, but it wasn't until he was put into that starting role until he grew into the guy that we needed him to be. His mentality, how physical he was, things like that. We were waiting for him to mature and play like that. And when we put him in that situation, it was amazing that how fast he decided to do those things, you know. So sometimes you got to throw him out there with the starters, and it's like throwing a kid in the deep end and tell him to swim and see what happens. And he's off and swimming. He's doing a great job.
That's awesome. Well, we've only got a few minutes left with you, Coach. Coach's got to head back for team meetings tonight back at the universities. But one of the things I want to talk to you about was you got one more scrimmage coming up before, but like I said, we head into game week next week. But what are some of the things you're hoping to pull out of this scrimmage? I know, keeping it crisp, keeping it clean, but any other goals you got in mind for the scrimmage coming up tomorrow afternoon?
Sure. Well, we've spent tons of time in scrimmages in the spring and the fall, really working on fundamentals. So keeping the scheme light and really sharpening things like tackling, protecting ourselves from blocks, angles to the football, all those things. This scrimmage it's closed to the public for a reason, because we're going to work on some sub-package things that we're going to do in games. So not as much base defense. It'll be sub-packages and attacking pass protections and multiple schemes and things that we're going to have to do to win Big Sky football games. So it's exciting because we're gonna put guys out there and see them doing some things within sub packages that they haven't been doing. They've been playing base defense. I'm excited about it. Last year we were one of the best in the country at getting off the field on third downs, in large part because of the success we had with our sub packages. So we want to continue that. So we'll get a little taste of that tomorrow going against our offense. We'll bring some different pressures, play some different mixed zones, and play some man, and ask different guys to do different things. So it'll be a great evaluation tool in terms of what our depth looks like in terms of building those sub-package groupings.
Awesome. Well, Coach Semore, thank you very much for being out here. It's awesome to have you. I think everybody's looking forward to Grizz football. If you need to get your Grizz fix, tomorrow's scrimmage is closed, but we got the great Grizz encounter down at Karis Park. 6:30 is when the team gets introduced. Go down, get yourself some food truck food. Before that, team gets introduced 6:30. Players will be lined up signing autographs.
Oh, yeah, you got coaches, you got players, you've got the athletic director, the president, the mascot, the cheer squad, everybody down there.
The whole 9 yards. I'm going to be emceeing the thing. That's how deeply we're emptying the closets around here. Everybody gets put to work.
Look at how far you've come. You were the public address announcer at the scrimmage on Saturday. You do a great job interviewing. I can just stand here and say nothing because you got complete control. And
I got a face for radio, so that's what we have.
Now you're emceeing the big show tomorrow. I can tell Coach Semore can't wait to see you in action.
Can't wait, yeah. Well, Coach Semore, thanks for being here. Defensive coordinator, University of Montana. Appreciate you, and we'll see you on September 2nd. Take a quick break. This segment of Sports Talk Tonight brought to you by Bell McCall Ford. Great selection of new and used cars, trucks, and SUVs. Bell McCall is your locally owned, low-cost auto dealer for over 100 years in downtown Hamilton. And Granite Pharmacy, locally owned and operated pharmacy on South Avenue between Shopko and Big Sky High School. Find them at granitepharmacy.com. We'll be right back.
Sports Talk Tonight, live from the KGVO studio.
Missoula Sports.
Welcome back to Sports Talk Tonight. This segment brought to you by Jerry Wessel's Tire Center. Locally owned Les Schwab Tire Center provides the best tire value promise. Visit them online at jerrywesselstirecenter.com. Sports Talk Tonight also brought to you by CHS Mountain West Co-op, Western Montana's source for Cenex fuel, feed, fertilizer, clothing, and tack for over 75 years. Danny, that was great having Coach on.
It sure is, and that right there is Eric Tabor, Sports Information Director for the University of Montana, filling in for Scott Guernsey, who's vacationing this week. He did manage to steal a steal from Scott, though. It is time for Eric's Steal of the Week. That brought to you by True North Steel, Western Montana's industry leader in quality manufactured and fabricated steel products. We'll get back to the Grizz, but we'll stray just for a second here so you can do your Steal of the Week.
A little NBA action, and I'm not a huge NBA guy. I'll be the first to admit that, but I feel like the Cleveland Cavaliers came out smiling on this deal with Kyrie Irving for Isaiah Thomas. I feel like Isaiah Thomas is one of the best pure shooters out there. And I feel like he's going to be a fantastic accompanist. Is that a word? Accompanist? It is now. Accompanist.
Very good.
To LeBron James. And the thing is, they got a ton of stuff, too. They got Jay Crowder, Ante Zizic. I don't even know the guy. Ante Zizic, and 2018 first round draft pick too. So I feel like the Cavs really came out smiling on that deal. Nice big steal for Kyrie Irving, and I think Kyrie's relationship with LeBron was pretty well known to not be the smoothest of sails. So I think the Cavs are going to be good next year. I think it's going to be another Cavs-Warriors showdown in the finals, and those have gotten to be so dang entertaining, the finals between the Cavs and the Dubs.
That is lofty praise to the Cavaliers that they made that much of a steal in your mind.
Well, they'll be happy to know that the guys in Missoula, Montana are talking so highly about them. LeBron will give me a shout-out later. I'm sure
kind of like Coach Semore was thrilled to know you're going to MC the Great Grizz Encounter tomorrow night.
He rolled his eyes when he heard that.
The Steel of the Week is brought to you by True North Steel, Western Montana's industry leader in quality manufactured and fabricated steel products. One of the really fun things about having Eric Tabor on, especially this time of year, you did this for us last year because we had you on as a guest. Scott was here, but we had you on as a guest about this time last year, real close to the start of the season.
Oh, yeah.
And you did a little a spotlight piece that was really good on some of the ones to watch, some of the Montana Grizzlies. That some of them, of course, you expect to really up their game and be high performers, but then some others that may surprise folks. So you are on the stage for Eric Tabor's Ones to Watch.
Well, I think last year when I came out and started talking about these ones to watch, I started talking about a kid named Jerry Louis McGee, and everybody's like, who's that kid?
Pat yourself on the back.
Well, I did pretty good. I did pretty good there. But,
did?
It took a couple games, took exactly 2 games, actually, for everybody in the country to be like, whoa. As soon as he ran that punt back against Northern Iowa, or at Northern Iowa, that really put him on the map. And he was a finalist for the Jerry Rice Award, which is the National Freshman of the Year, and he only played 8 games. He's our leading receiver last year, only played 8 games because of injury. Now you look at that and you say, hey, he got injured last year because he got 73 receptions, and the next closest receiver on our team got 42 or something like that, almost twice as many. So you start looking about some depth on that Z position, at the receiver at Z. Well, fear not, we've got more depth at Z this year. Semore Toure, another freshman from last year, now a redshirt freshman, coming in. He's going to be backing up Jerry at the Z position, and he is electric. Caught a touchdown pass in the spring game. Since the spring game, it looks like he ate himself from last year because he's about doubled in size. And so he's a real physical specimen. He's got the speed. He's got the moves. At that Z, that Z position's kind of the shifty little slot back type thing that they use,
But he's not a real small guy.
No, he's 6'6". What is Semore? I got it right here. He is
a little bit bigger than your average Z receiver, I guess you'd say.
He is, yeah. So he's 6'3".
Yeah.
173 pounds. Yeah, it's a whole lot of Z. But he moves. So he's got the ability to get over top of people and around them as well. So keep your eyes open for Semore. I think he's going to be, he's going to be a very, very dynamic player for us in the next couple of years.
All right.
4 years, yeah.
So for the second year in a row, you've listed one of our Z receivers as a one to watch.
I think so. I also listed Colin Bingham last year, and Bing is he had a good year last year, and I think he's going to have another good year this year.
I liked watching him play. I was impressed with his freshman play.
Yeah, redshirt freshman, but he had a great year. Ones to watch this year though is the entire group of H-backs. I mean, we have got so much depth in the H receiver spot. You've got McKenna Simis put on 15 pounds in the offseason. He's absolutely massive right now, and he is.
I wouldn't have recognized the kid in his uniform. I think that's number 17. Holy!
And he used to be a quarterback.
Yeah.
You look at him, you're like, that was a quarterback once. It's unreal. So McKenna has been awesome. He's in the last 2 scrimmages. I think he's caught a touchdown in each one. And he's a senior, and he's playing like a senior. And Josh Horner is a senior as well. And so you've got these 2 guys that are seniors, and they're both playing incredibly well. And you've got Bingham, who's a redshirt sophomore, and he is also. You've got 3 guys. Flip of the coin for the offensive coaches every week to see which one of those guys starts, because each one of them has the ability to go in there and lead. I think McKenna Simis gets the nod because of his senior leadership, and he's been playing very, very well. But Coach Ferreter, wide receivers coach, has difficult choices to make there because each one of those guys can play. So H is going to be super valuable to this team going forward this year. And then of course we got Reese Phillips at quarterback, and he's developed into a guy that can get the ball where it needs to go. And you're going to see guys like Bingham, Simis, Horner, Semore, Jerry getting more, receptions that aren't just jump balls downfield. You know what I mean? Like finding seams, finding angles on defenses, across the middle type stuff that puts together these 13, 16 play drives like we saw in the last scrimmage. So Reese is going to be a good quarterback. I'm excited for him to finally get out there and show what he can do.
Yeah, and that was really an 11th hour deal. And I guess what I feel good about as far as that is concerned is well, which of these guys are we going to pick? And it wasn't like let's find the one that can do the least damage. You had three pretty qualified kids, you had three pretty talented kids in there.
Right.
And so it was nice that in my mind it seemed like Reese Phillips has emerged from a pretty darn decent crop of quarterbacks.
Yeah, and Coach said something pretty important the other day that I think a lot of people are forgetting, is that he's always kind of been the starting quarterback. Like Reese Phillips was brought in here to be the starting quarterback this year because we didn't have another guy, right? And he's a senior, and so that's the idea of finally moving him up. And now, of course, you bring in competition, and there's competition at every spot on this depth chart right here because you want to push the guy in front of you. So if Gresh or Caleb Hill came out and played absolutely lights out, and passed him, that's a good thing. You know what I mean? And if Gresh is a freshman beat both those guys, that's a really good thing. You know what I mean? But you want your senior on the field. You want your senior to be the leadership, and that's what a lot of people I don't think have kind of gotten to know about Reese yet, is that he's really embraced this senior leader role. He's the guy that's been like, hey, you know what, guys, follow me. I'm going to lead us into battle, and we're going to go win this thing. A little bit is your sense when you're conducting interviews, and I'm not asking you to say something that was off the record or anything, but a little bit of turnover concerns, at least early in practice this year. You feel like that's cleaned up a bit, and more confidence there at that quarterback position for Reese Phillips? Yeah, and I think one of the things that Coach Semore alluded to, and we didn't get a chance to talk to him about, was you come away from a scrimmage every time they have one thinking, oh, the defense won that one. Oh, the offense won that one. And I thought the first scrimmage was fairly even on both ways, but the defense probably had a better day. You come away from the second scrimmage knowing that the offense won that one. And they still had one turnover, but that was a great defensive play. You know what I mean? We had an interception, and it was just a great defensive play. So you don't want to take. I think Caleb threw the interception. You don't want to take anything away from Caleb because he made a good throw, but I think it was Darian Nash. Made an awesome play. Yeah, I mean, I think that, like I was saying earlier, the ball is going to the place it needs to go, and that's going to, in part, clean up the turnover stuff. And it's always hard to tell against your own team too, because
of course
they're used to they're used to what teams do, and they're calling plays against one another.
And I don't even think I would have brought it up if Reese himself had not called some attention to it. And you know this because you've interviewed the guys.
Sure.
Man, that's I got to get better at that. That can't happen during a game.
Yeah.
And he obviously sounds sincere about it, going to take it seriously and work on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, I think, has been part of his growth curve, if you will. Growing and becoming a leader at a quarterback position that it needs to be. I think he's realized that he's got to call himself out and he's got to go improve, and he has so far. So that's good. So
couple more ones to watch.
You better look at the defensive side of the ball, and we talked about him already. Chris Favoroso, I think, is a name that people haven't seen in a Grizzly uniform outside of spring ball yet. The transfer from Arizona Western at defensive end. I think he fits the mold of a Ryan Johnson last year, and Ryan Johnson just had an incredible year defensively for us. So I really like the way our defensive line is made up. You've got David Shaw backing up Brent Davidson. So Brent Davidson inside at defensive tackle. Nose tackle. And then you got David Shaw, the transfer from Maryland, backing him up. So there's the defensive line, as Coach said, is going to be very, very, very good this year. You've got 2 300-pounders in there, and you've got Jesse Sims, who's getting up to 300 pounds now. He's probably 265, 75, something like that. But he's got the biggest biceps on the team, and I guarantee you that. And he is a strong human being. So inside defensive line looking awesome. Tucker Shy is going to represent that 37 number about as good as anybody ever has. He does all the right things on and off the field. He's a physical monster, and he gets the job done. So those guys definitely keep your eyes on. Another linebacker to look at. We talked about Vika, coming in to back up at that middle linebacker spot. He's going to get the start in the first, likely get the start in the first couple of games. Dante Olson is your linebacker of the future, though, the outside linebacker. He's a kid that he won scout team defensive player of the year as a true freshman. He won special teams player of the year last year. He does, another one of these guys does everything right. He's huge. He moves, and if he wasn't behind, Josh Buss on the depth chart, he'd be playing right now. So Dante Olson's going to be great for the future, and yeah, those are some good ones to watch there.
Interesting when Coach Semore was talking about Josh Buss, and he's obviously not going to be one of your ones to watch because everybody knows that he is one to watch already.
Yeah.
But his comment, the next Grizz to go into the NFL is Josh Buss. That's putting a lot of expectation on a guy.
Yeah, and I don't doubt it. 20 TFLs in a season is not something that sophomores do. You know what I mean? And
Terrific.
And he's going to be very, very good. But anyway, more about the Grizz coming up. Got lots of Grizz stuff to talk about outside of football and other stuff around the department coming up here. Take a quick break. This part of Sports Talk tonight. We already did the Steal of the Week, didn't we? So
yeah, we did. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back, and we
Wrap
got
it up.
Wrap it up.
And parks.
Now back to Missoula's Sports Talk tonight on KGVO.
Missoula Sports.
Every second of every day.
And welcome back to Sports Talk Tonight. This segment of Sports Talk Tonight brought to you by First Montana Bank. Your home for free Centennial checking plus unlimited cash back every time you use your debit card online at firstmontanabank.com. My name is Eric Tabor, Communications Director for the football team at the University of Montana. And I am with, as always,
Sports Communications.
Just communications.
Just communications.
Yeah, just
All right.
Communications Director for football.
Okay.
It's a new thing that they're trying it out around the country. It's less sports info, more communications.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's asking and telling things. It's
All right. Okay.
overall communications. So,
Yeah. Well, it sounds pretty fancy.
hey, I didn't get a pay raise, but that's all right.
But you're fancier now. That's good. And love having him here. He's filling in for Scott Guernsey on this week's Sports Talk Tonight. And Eric, a couple things. One is Riley Corcoran, play-by-play announcer, who was on the show a few weeks ago. Great dude, just like you. And you guys are venturing into some sort of new broadcast or telecast. What do you got going on there?
The next frontier of broadcasting. No, we're doing something really cool we've never done before at the University of Montana. And we are going to take the fans live inside a practice on the field of Washington Grizzlies Stadium via Facebook Live. So Facebook.com/Montana Grizzlies, I believe. And we're going to have
just like the guys in here that do talkback, John King and Peter Christian. They've entered that arena too. That's what that gizmo is over our heads for their talkback show.
We're going to have a little bit more than a webcam on a stick.
Yeah.
We're going to.
Well, you need more.
We're going to. This is going to be really cool because the folks who run Grizz Vision, our new state-of-the-art jumbotron there at Washington Grizzlies Stadium, they are going to be putting on this show for us. They're going to allow us to be on air for a half hour next Tuesday afternoon. We're going to be live at practice. We're going to be doing position breakdowns. We're going to be interviewing coaches live. We're going to be, featuring players right from the field there at Washington Grizzlies Stadium, all on Facebook. And if you miss it, it'll be archived there. It'll be on YouTube. We'll put it out everywhere so people can see it. But Riley and I are going to go down the depth chart, as it were, and we're going to feature players, and we'll talk it'll be cool because we'll be able to talk about, say, Reese Phillips, and we'll be able to point the camera at Reese Phillips and watch him throwing the ball for a while, and then go over to the defensive guys doing their drills and talk about the defensive guys, and it's going to be neat.
I assume you got to be a little bit careful about showing plays and stuff like that. I mean, you don't want to tip the hand of some of the stuff the team is working on, right?
Yeah, no, and this has all been coordinated with Coach Stitt and his staff.
Right.
Like we'll take you live inside practice. There's some parts that he doesn't want shown, so we're not going to.
Of course.
Obviously we're not going to spoil it for him, but it's going to be a cool look inside practice, and it's going to be unique in the fact that you'll get to learn about this year's team from all the different position groups. You'll get to hear from coaches, you get to hear from players. And we'll have some fun while we're doing it, too.
Before I ask you about smoky conditions, I might as well do a cross promo at this point since I've been doing sound checks this week and it's fresh in my mind. The first Grizzly Football Coaches Show featuring Bob Stitt. It's going to be on a new day. Same time on the radio, but a new day. The Grizzly Football Coaches Show will air on Thursdays from 6 to 7 p.m. The first one will be up in the Canyon Club at Washington Grizzly Stadium, but after that, if I can grab my calendar here real quick, starting on Thursday, September 7th, that's when you'll have an opportunity to join us at Brooks and Brown's Holiday Inn, Missoula, downtown, and that's where the Bob Stitt Coaches Show will air live. You hear it on the radio, right here on KGVO, but also you can listen to it live there at Brooks and Brown's. So that's coming up on Thursdays this year, and we will have our first one a week from tomorrow. Now then,
I tell you, well, just while you're talking about that, I actually love the move to Thursday for that. Like we did it on Tuesdays, and if you haven't been out there in Radio Land to a coach's show, they're a ton of fun. You learn a lot about the team, but moving it to Thursday is going to make that experience even better for the listeners, because by Thursday they know exactly what's going to happen that weekend. Everything, the hay's in the barn, as Coach would say, right? The hay's in the barn by Thursday. On Tuesday, they've barely had time to put together a game plan yet. And by Thursday, they've got so much more intel and more thoughts put together about what they're going to do for that weekend's game. So it should be a more interesting experience for
we'll give it a go. We've always done either a Monday or Tuesday, never done a Thursday, so we will find out. Smoky conditions, of course, the air quality issues, not only in Missoula Valley but surrounding areas as well. I imagine the university has talked about that a little bit, and I don't know that any players, if there's any extra attention paid to any players on it, but it's something on everybody's mind, and unfortunately on everybody's nose, I guess, too,
Well, yeah, and, here's the deal with that is that we know our student athletes really well. We know that if a player has asthma or something like that, we don't want to get them out in these kind of conditions. But I do get a lot of questions about, people get concerned about this type of air quality. And just so people know, the university, our athletic training staff, in conjunction with Athletic Director Ken Haslam and Associate AD Gene Gee and University of Montana Curry Health Center Director and the City County Health Department as well. They have developed a list of protocols that are consistent with protocols all around the country for varsity athletics. So we're not doing anything different here for air quality standards. But developed a list of protocols, and it has to go with when you hear on the news at night, air quality is listed as unhealthy, or it's listed as hazardous.
Yeah, hazardous. That's
right. We don't want to go hazardous, but so everything is based off that, and what we're concerned about most is the folks coming to watch our games. You know what I mean? Because we know our student athletes are young, 19-year-old athletes. They are very, very good athletes, and their respiratory systems are very good. But we want people to pay attention to the county's air quality standards and what that means for them. Before they come to a game at Washington Grizzly Stadium or a soccer game or whatever that might be. So we will play on if the air quality is really anything but hazardous. And then when it gets to be hazardous is when we start taking a look at how that happens. Yeah. So,
gosh, we've only got about 2.5 minutes left. I wanted to get back to a couple of things that actually were in your article that you just emailed, your press release about today's final. I guess I could call it the final practice, right? They got a scrimmage tomorrow. Then next week is prep for the opening game. But the Grizzly football team during practice today had a had a special visitor.
A special guest from Grizz legend Chase Reynolds. He came by and he sort of gave, I don't want to call it a pep talk, but he just talked to him about what Grizzly football means.
Inspirational.
You know what I mean? Yeah, a little inspiration. And, we're hoping Chase is not going to be in town for the first game of the season. He is talking to some NFL teams, so good luck to him, and I hope he gets picked up. But, it's just great having those guys around at practice. And even it's just talking to the guys for 5 minutes, learn a little bit about what it means and the tradition of the program. And, hey, if I'm a young linebacker or if I'm a young running back, I can be like Chase Reynolds too, and I can go play for 6 years in the NFL. Yeah.
And one more thing from that article, and you talked about ones to watch. You mentioned one of the Z receivers behind our sophomore sensation, Jerry Louis McGee, and you quoted him in your article there, and Jerry said that you look at our receiver depth and you look at our quarterback, Reese Phillips is doing amazing, throwing money balls. From my point of view, from my eyes, I think we're going to be deadly. We're coming along very nicely. And
Jerry does give probably one of the best quotes in the team. Anytime you interview him, he's a quote machine. I love the kid.
I think if anything, last year's team got a little bit off track in the sincerity department. You hope that all of this cohesiveness and unity and closeness they're talking about is the real deal this year.
And I believe it is 100%. I believe this team is having more fun at practice than I've ever seen a Grizz team.
Good.
Offense makes a play. The first guys to shake their hand and pat them on the back is the defense, and vice versa. So.
Well, it has been a pleasure having you on. We really, really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. It gets hectic for the sports information or communications guys.
Yes.
This time of year, too. So,
sure does.
Eric, we thank you so much for coming in.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Great to see you as always. Eric Tabor filling in for Scott Guernsey, who will be back in that chair this time next Wednesday. We'll see you next Wednesday at 6 o'clock on Sports Talk Tonight. Good night, everybody.